Fire Emblem franchise is one of the most interesting franchises for Nintendo. Starting out in 1990 for the Famicom, Fire Emblem recently has gone from a niche series to one of Nintendo's most popular. From mobile games to upcoming spin-off games like Fire Emblem Warriors for the Switch, Fire Emblem is now a prominent franchise for Nintendo owners. Fire Emblem Echoes is actually a remake of the second game in the franchise, but make no mistake, this isn't a half-assed effort from Nintendo. If anything, Fire Emblem Echoes may be the best Fire Emblem game to date. Presentation has never been a focal point in my opinion for the Fire Emblem series, but Echoes changes that in a pretty drastic way. Animated cutscenes are littered throughout the game, and the Japanese anime style that is used is fantastic, and very suiting of the game. Along with this are fully voiced characters, with tons of dialogue for each with very well done voice acting. The amount of animated cutscenes and voice acting in this game is very impressive, and Nintendo really put a layer of polish on this game. Diving into the actual game, it's a mostly standard Fire Emblem affair with a couple things added to keep the series fresh for veterans. The story of the game focuses around two characters, Alm and Celica. After being separated at a young age, these two are on a path that intertwines with each other as the game progresses. What's unique is the fact that eventually you will control both Alm and Celica's armies, each with their own teams and inventory, which adds a whole new layer of depth to the Fire Emblem franchise. On the battlefield, it's your standard turn-based strategy RPG that we have come to expect from the Fire Emblem series. If this is your first entry in the genre, you fight on a grid-like surface with each character being allotted a certain number of spaces they can move based on their class. This portion of the game takes place in a top-down setting with minimal but sufficient graphics. Once you encounter an enemy and choose to attack or be attacked, the game transitions to 3D character models that act out the battle. These are some of the best animations I've seen in a Fire Emblem game to date, with great attention to detail and interesting outcomes. You could pause these interactions, speed them up, or turn them off completely in the settings. Permadeath is a staple of the Fire Emblem franchise, meaning if your character dies in battle, they are gone for good. If you are a newcomer to the series and are on the fence about this, however, you could turn this off and it changes to your character being revived after the battle. It's not just all turn-based battles this time around though. Echoes introduces a new feature, 3D dungeons. Don't expect a Legend of Zelda-like experience, but these dungeons are nice little diversions to the main meat of the game. You explore these dungeons and look for items, fake walls, and treasure. Enemies are also in these dungeons as well, and you can attack them first with an action move, but then the game goes to standard turn-based battle system. Personally, I would have loved to have seen the developers just go full on with this section of the game, and make it just an action segment with real-time battles. A few other minor nitpicks include the fact that there's only English voice acting with no option to have the Japanese voices. Also worth noting is the fact that characters can only hold one weapon at a time. It would have been nice for strategy purposes to have the option to use more than one weapon in battle. Fire Emblem Echoes really surprised me. What I thought would be a simple spin-off game ended up being arguably the best Fire Emblem game I've ever played. There's more than enough new things to spice things up for diehards of the series, and newcomers will enjoy things like being able to turn off permadeath. With some of the best presentation on the 3DS, Fire Emblem Echoes is a must-own for RPG fans.